Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest, it is set for one fall. Introducing first, from Lithuania, who weighs 123 kilos, the Russian nightmare, Nikita Koloff.
Welcome back to Man Up with Nikita Koloff. Real talk with real men and just real life stories. And with me today in studio, Jeff Terrell with Faith Force. I almost get that tongue twisting in there, Jeff. But welcome to the Man Up Show.
Thanks, Nikita. I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, great to have you with us. Faith Force. I do have to really think about what I'm saying there, and we want to talk about that today. What you're doing with Faith Force, some of those things. But before we really jump into that, for our viewing audience here, just give them a little backstory on Jeff Terrell. Who's Jeff Terrell?
Well, I'm just a follower of Jesus Christ. I love him, and he called me into ministry. Gosh, going on 23 years now.
Okay.
And so I'm also an artist and a designer. God gave me that talent, and I love to draw and do design work. In fact, I do design work for you.
Yeah, yes, great work, by the way.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal work. We'll talk. We'll make sure people know how to get a hold of you at the end. But
I'm a husband. Live in Burlington, North Carolina. Been there most of my life, and lived in North Carolina all my life.
A North Carolinian.
North Carolinian, that's right.
Born and raised.
That's right.
Born and bred, as they say.
Yep.
Okay. And your lovely bride, Rhonda, who I know well and have enjoyed. How did we first meet? Do you remember?
We actually did a crusade in Burlington about 20 years ago. And
wow.
You came and did, you spoke one of the nights at the event. We did a tent crusade, and you came, one of the pastors who was involved with the event, asked you if you'd come and be a part of the event, and I got to meet you, and we got to be friends, and you invited us to go to Phoenix, to the Athletes Conference in Phoenix.
Yeah, AIM Conference, AIM, Athletes International Ministries with Pastor Larry Karachuk, who heads that up. And of course, an amazing conference for athletes, right? Who both collegiate and professional athletes, Christian athletes. But the idea was to be able to not only come and kind of glean and get fed yourself, but also to invite friends who maybe didn't have a relationship with the Lord, right? And
exactly.
And for me, wrestling, and there were football guys there were weightlifters, karate guys, bull riders, just a plethora of different athletes that attended that conference. And I know you made a real connection with Pastor Larry, right?
I did, yeah. And, we've been several years. It's been great. I've met a lot of other wrestlers, a lot of other athletes from different backgrounds, and that's kind of what Faith Force is. We're a team of athletes from different backgrounds that comes together, and we use the talents that God's given us to share, in the platform that God's given us to share in whether it's a school or a church or another venue. We'll
a tent,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right. Well, we'll talk about that. Let me ask you a question. Let me back up a little bit. You grew up in Burlington, North Carolina.
Right.
Did you grow up in church? Did you so how did you come to faith in the Lord and loving Jesus?
Well, my grandfather was a Baptist pastor.
Okay.
And so I grew up in church. Did not really have a relationship with Christ when I was young. I went to church. I knew how to talk the talk, but I wasn't walking the walk. And so I went, did all the youth group stuff, the vacation Bible school stuff, but it was all here. It wasn't here. And but then when I got into high school, I was in bodybuilding, and I was competing as a bodybuilder. And I remember I was kind of going through a very difficult time in my life, and I was trying to decide whether or not to go on to the next level in bodybuilding, which would require me taking a lot of drugs, a lot of steroids, and I had actually I made a bad choice, and I started taking steroids, and so it actually started to affect my health, and from there I went to a very bad state of depression and almost killed myself.
How old were you?
19 years old.
19.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was one night I was home alone, and I was about to take my life, and the Lord just spoke to me, spoke to my heart, and said, "Jeff, call on me. I'll save you. I'll set you free." And I just cried out to the Lord. I said, "Lord," if you don't help me, these drugs are going to kill me, or I'm going to kill myself. Please help me. And Nikita, it was like a peace came over me. that I can't even explain.
Nobody really can unless you've experienced it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we talk about it, we share our testimonies, we witness, and we do those sorts of things, but until you've made that decision and experience it, it is hard to explain that peace that just comes, right?
Yeah. And I remember I just said, Lord, and I just started crying. I said, Lord, please, can you ever forgive me? Can you ever use somebody like me? Can you use the talents and abilities you've given me, the strengths you've given me? Lord, if you can, they're all yours. And I had no idea that he was going to use me for something like Faith Force, later on in my life. But, I thought my goal was just to win trophies, to be a bodybuilder.
Be a star.
Yeah. Win trophies, Yeah. Those same trophies are sitting in a washroom collecting dust right now.
Jeff, you remind me, your story reminds me of a story, of course, Lex Luger, and he and I facilitate a camp called Man Camp.
Yeah.
And at a previous Man Camp, we had a man, we'll call him Greg, 69 years old.
Wow.
And he came to me, I remember, at lunch one day. This is several days into the camp. And he said, I need to share something with you. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, I was on my morning devotion this morning, reading the book, that we give them. And he said, God spoke to my heart and said, Greg, you got saved in your head, but you've never invited me into your heart. Mm. Similar to what you just said. I had it in my head, but not in my heart, right?
Right.
He goes, I broke. He goes, I fell to my knees. I was weeping like a baby. And he goes, I invited Jesus into my heart this morning. And here's the real, God. I know, but here's the real caveat. Listen to this, Jeff. I said, Greg, how long you been in church? He goes, most of my life. Yeah. He's 69.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I'm a chairman of the deacons.
Wow. Wow.
Chairman of the deacons, 69, in church most of his life. You know what it made me think, Jeff? How many others are out there sitting in church every Sunday who are saved in their head, but never invited Jesus into their heart, right?
That's right.
You reminded me of that story when you said, I had it in my head, grew up in church,
mm-hmm.
but until I just, invited him into my heart,
right.
And that peace came over me,
yeah.
did I really experience, the love of Jesus, right?
That's
and know
right.
what it really means. So that happens at 19. And at what point then did you feel like ministry would be a future for you, or let me say this again, you have an incredible business in terms of artwork and all of that, and you still do that today, but ministry is your real passion as well, right?
Right, exactly.
So how old were you when you kind of figured out ministry is where I want to go?
From there, a few years later.
Because you're bodybuilding, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I continued to bodybuild for a short period of time, and then I met my future wife while I was in college.
Okay.
And so we began dating, and she told me I need to go to church with her. And so I got plugged into her church.
Godly women. There's something to say about godly women.
That's right. And so it was there that I made that true commitment to serving the Lord. I got involved in the youth ministry, and the youth pastor at the time was one of my best friends. And he really encouraged me he said, I think you could do that strength ministry stuff, where you break stuff and bend stuff and tell people about Jesus. And so we actually saw another team who was doing it, and they asked me to come and be a part of their team and help them. And so that's kind of how I got my start.
Kind of learned from them.
Right.
Okay.
And then the Lord led me to start Faith Force. And I said, well, Lord, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I'm just getting started. You have to help me. So he brought other athletes my way and helped me start the team. And so it really, over the last 20 years, we traveled all over the world.
So you would have started Faith Force when?
It was in in the year 2000.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, 1999.
Okay.
1999.
And so as a part of what you do, and again, you said you have, a variety of athletes, football players, bodybuilders. So it's not just bodybuilding, right? So
Right.
A variety of athletes that have become a part of Faith Force. You go and do school assemblies. You do it under the tent, under the big top, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
But you do everything from like roll up frying pans. So what all do you do?
Oh gosh, roll up frying pans, break bats, bend bars, break handcuffs. Believe it or not,
Okay.
break handcuffs.
Okay.
Blow up hot water bottles. Of course, tear phone books. Break through bowls of concrete and ice. Sometimes on fire.
Wow.
All kinds of crazy stuff.
And obviously, they're real attention getters.
Oh yeah.
For those who are in the audience. And is it targeted mostly at younger, individuals, or I mean, obviously adults attend these events as well.
Oh yeah. Well, what's funny is so many people over the years have thought I was a wrestler. They thought I was a professional wrestler, and they'll ask me, they'll say, "Are you a professional wrestler?" And I'm like, "No, I've got friends who are wrestlers, but I've never wrestled." The platform we have, with the feats of strength, a lot of times people are attracted to that. So, but it might be a teenager, or it might be a woman, an 80-year-old woman.
Right.
Just like in wrestling, you have older fans.
Right, a variety in the audience.
There's a variety, yeah.
Variety of people.
So a lot of younger people are attracted to it. I mean, it is something that kind of gets their attention. But we do a lot of prison ministry. We do a lot of, which has been one of my favorite things to do, to be honest with you.
Why is that? Why prison ministry?
Never apologize for who you are. Be who God has called you to be, and be boldly.
Hi, Nikita Koloff here, and I am excited to announce the first annual MorningStar Men's Conference, August 25th to the 27th. Our theme this year, Man Up. It's time. And we have a phenomenal lineup of speakers, including NBA All-Star Al Wood, WWE Superstar Lex Luger, Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, David and Jason Benham, the Benham Brothers, Chris Reed, and of course Dr. Rick Joyner. Let's not forget world-renowned evangelist Frank Shelton. Click the link below and sign up early. You do not want to miss this event.
One of the things I love about the Lord is He goes to the places where they're broken. He goes to those places where those people are broken. If you look in the Bible, the man at the pool of Bethesda, how many people walk past that man every day? Jesus went to him. He goes to those places where the people are broken. And you can't find a place where there's more brokenness than prison, And so, when I first started doing it years ago, I said, Lord, what am I going to say to these people? I've never been in prison. I don't know what to say. He's like, just tell them I love them. The same grace you needed is the same grace they need. The same mercy you need is the same mercy they need. The same forgiveness you need is the same forgiveness they need. Just tell them I love them. And man, it's been one of the most powerful ministries just to go in. And of course, I still love doing schools. I love doing all these other events, but a lot of these guys in prison will tell us, man, don't ever stop doing these schools. Maybe if I saw somebody like you in a school assembly one day,
They wouldn't have been in prison.
I wouldn't be in prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I remember the last time, Jeff, one of the last times I finished reading the book of Genesis, and the word dysfunctional came to mind. I'm reading about all the dysfunctional families in the book of Genesis.
Oh, yeah.
And actually there was in my heart, I was like, Lord, I don't feel so bad about my dysfunctional family at this point.
Right.
Well, dysfunction seems to go way, way, way back, right? And so, of course, as we know, many of those in prison and in general, every family, you might say, has its level of dysfunction, right? It seems to be my experience. Now, that's not to say that there's not families out there that don't have any. but it seems like the majority do, and or depending on whether there's a father in the home or not in the home. That's one of the focuses with Man Camp is really raising men up to walk into their God-given role as a husband, as a father, as a man of God, and model that for their children and model that even to their wife. And so I've spoken in some prisons, and now it's not a real call. I'll say it that way for me. Although when the door of opportunity opens up, I'll do it. And in the times I've done it, goodness, you're right. I mean, they're very receptive to what you have to say, and many of them were wrestling fans, believe it or not, in the prisons. And so I could see how they would, really enjoy the feats of strength and things that you guys do with Faith Force. And but tell me about, you're kind of like Paul too, in that Paul built tents. So you have this artistry type of work. What talk just a minute about that. What do you do with that?
I've always loved to draw ever since I was a little kid. And when I got into high school, I really started to draw even more. I continued to draw all through elementary school and middle school. But in high school, it seemed like that was where I kind of realized that I had messed up. I hadn't focused on design and art as much as I should have. And so when I got into college, I majored in art. And then I graduated. And the very first company I ever worked for gave me an opportunity to do design work for the NBA and the NFL, Major League Baseball, all these different sports organizations that I had dreamed of playing for one day, maybe when I was a kid, being a professional athlete. I got a chance to do design work for them. And so I actually did the uniform for the NBA All-Star Game jersey. That was one of the very first designs I ever designed. And I give all the glory to God on that too. I mean, it was definitely a God.
You were telling me the story. You kind of had a dream, right, about it or whatever, and Lord gave you design, and the NBA approved it and used it for like 4 years.
4 consecutive seasons. That's right. Yeah.
In the NBA All-Star Game.
Yep.
Incredible, and of course. You had the opportunity to meet a dear friend of mine, Al Wood, who played 6 years in the NBA. And you guys were talking about that story, and he's like, "Hey, don't go anywhere. Hang on," and brought one of those jerseys back.
Definitely,
with MJ's number, Michael Jordan, right? His number on it.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And so is the artwork something? So do you kind of balance things between that and ministry, kind of between the two? Or?
I do. Well, it's funny. I use them both at the same time sometimes. In fact, I'll take the All-Star jersey with me to the school assemblies, and I'll tell kids a story about how when I was young, I wanted to be a professional athlete, but I also had this desire to be a professional artist. And a lot of times kids would pick on me and bully me because I was a little overweight and I wore glasses. And as I got a little older, I realized that, those kids that were bullying me and picking on me, I can't let them control me.
That's good.
And so
that's good. That's right.
I went and got a degree in design, and I pull out the NBA All-Star Game jersey. I mean, how many of you guys know who Michael Jordan is? Of course, everybody knows who Michael Jordan is. So I pull up the jersey and hold it up, and they're like, "Oh my goodness!" I'm like, "Now some of you guys may want to be in the NBA. In fact, a lot of these kids want to be in the NBA." I said, "But you know what? The chances of you making it to the NBA are pretty tough.
Right.
Now, some of you might make it. That's a great thing. You might make it, but you might be the next person who designs the uniform for Michael Jordan, the next Michael Jordan.
Right.
You may not make it to the NBA. You might be a designer, or you might be a physical trainer, or somebody who works with the NBA. So we all have gifts. We all have talents.
We do, right? God has given every one of us certain gifts and talents and skills and abilities. And, as you kind of figure out what those are, I mean, I never dreamed I'd be, in a professional wrestling ring and entertaining people for a living. But I was able to take my athletic ability from the football field, transfer that into the wrestling ring and, have a halfway decent career in wrestling. But now look back and see where really God was just training me, man. He was just training me up from the ultimate call on my life,
Exactly.
which was evangelism and ministry. Now, you have one of those jerseys with you.
I do.
Do you not?
Yeah, I sure do.
And yeah, what's that? What's it look like? What's that jersey look like?
All right.
Love for our viewers just to see what that jersey looks like.
Actually, it's the shorts.
There's the shorts, NBA shorts.
NBA shorts.
Yeah, right over here.
All right.
Look at that. So that was your design
Yep.
at the NBA used for the All-Star games.
Yep.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Magic Johnson. A lot of the players that played back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Wore these. They had them in white, blue, red.
Wow.
They started in Charlotte. The first year they wore it in Charlotte.
Okay.
And then they went to Phoenix and several other locations.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, congratulations on that.
Yeah.
And where would be, like, if people wanted to learn more about either Faith Force or even about you as an artist,
Right.
I mean, where would they find you? Where could they?
They could go to faithforce.com or they could go to firecloud.com.
Okay.
Firecloud Design, fireclouddesign.com.
Fire Cloud Design.
Exactly.
And you do great work. You really do. And very,
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate
feel very
that.
blessed on how you've helped me out and getting the word out on the Man Up TV show,
Yeah.
Man Up radio show, podcast. And so what do you foresee? What do you foresee for yourself in the future? Well, what's the biggest impact you want to make from this point on?
Oh, wow. That's a big question.
Short answer. Short answer.
Yeah, short answer. I've really been, this last couple of years, I've really been praying and drawing in close to the Lord, and just asking Him to use me, maybe in ways that I've never been used before. And so I don't know exactly, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I'm like, Lord, if you want me to continue to do Faith Force, I'll continue to do Faith Force. If you want me to do something else, I'll do something totally different.
Okay.
Whatever you want me to do, I just want to be obedient to you. And so He hasn't told me to lay anything down yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to have a heart that's teachable, and just go into our time with the Lord and say, Lord, whatever you want. This is all about you. It's not about me. You're the one that started Faith Force. You're the one that started Fire Cloud, and whatever you want me to do, that's what I want to do.
I think that's a good message, really, for all of our viewers, and certainly for myself. It's just to make yourself a willing vessel to you may have some certain plans, and I can remember as a 12-year-old, I kind of laid out my whole life, and then I surrendered my life to the Lord, and I found out, He has a plan for my life. And so I think it's just making yourself available. Well, it's the Man Up Show, Jeff. It's been a pleasure to have you on. But I'd like to do this before we wrap up, and in just maybe 60 seconds, because you've already said some real nuggets of truth and words of encouragement. But just take a look into that camera right there. What do you want to say to men specifically?
If anything we can learn from the last several years, that sometimes our plans can change really quickly overnight. And I think more than anything right now, we're living in a time where we need to draw close to the Lord and just surrender our hearts to Him. Maybe you're in a place right now where you're broken. We live in a broken world. And Jesus, one of the main reasons Jesus came was to heal the brokenhearted. And so if you are broken right now, just call out to Jesus. I was at a place when I was young, I was broken. I called out to Jesus, and He came and He met me in the midst of my brokenness. He'll do the same for you. He loves you, and I just pray that you'll do that.
That's a good word. And really, no matter where you're at in this juncture of life, I mean, whether you're a youth, a teenager, watching this program, someone who's maybe you're in your senior years or an elder, maybe you're like Greg, 69 years old, a chairman of the deacons, in church most of his life, was saved in his mind, but had never invited Jesus into his heart. And maybe today's your day to make that decision. I like to say, Jeff, to move Jesus from the 18 inches from your head down to your heart.
That's right.
And I think I've even grown up myself, and not growing up in church, but hearing the stories about Jesus. 17 October 1993 was my day when I made that decision to move the story from my head down to my heart. And everything changed for me. And maybe you need to make that decision today. Maybe you are out there listening and you're broken and maybe you're addicted or whatever the situation is. Would you consider today, taking a moment and just asking Jesus to come into your heart and into your life and receive the peace that Jeff talked about? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Man Up. Jeff, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, brother. I love you, buddy.
Love you. God bless you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Man Up Show. For more content, please visit us at www.morningstartv.com.
Discover your purpose and be equipped to fulfill it. I'm Justin Perry, the director of MorningStar University. Let me tell you about the incredible programs we have in our school. Our College of Leadership is the core curriculum that every student takes. You're going to get the strongest of foundations. You're going to grow in biblical studies and theology, but also in leadership and life skills. This program will help you to thrive in life and your calling. You can also be a part of one of our 3 full-time degree programs. We've got a school of worship that has been raising up and sending out worship leaders, some of the most powerful on the face of the earth. Not only are you going to learn things like excellence in playing your instrument and songwriting and singing skills, but you're going to learn to lead worship and write music in the anointing, following the Holy Spirit. You can be a part of our full-time School of the Prophets program. You'll be immersed in a prophetic community. You'll be part of the supernatural ministries that happen day after day here at MorningStar. You're going to be equipped to go higher in the revelatory gifts of the Spirit. You can also be a part of our Special Forces Missions program. This is a program for the radicals, those who feel called to go to the ends of the earth with the gospel. You're going to be doing things like mission trips and wilderness training and going out and experiencing some of the most exciting adventures you probably ever have, but you're also going to be trained in leadership to be one who will thrive in any situation. Come to MorningStar University and discover your purpose and be equipped to fulfill it. Go to mstaru.com today to apply for one of our 3 degree programs.